Welcome to Orientation 3, Part 1, Research and Writing Skills. Orientation 1 and 2 videos dealt with the first two platforms of Populi and DTL, which are part of a student's online journey at NSBT. The last two orientation videos, 3 and 4, will cover the last platform of research and writing to complete the orientation. Transitioning into the New School of Biblical Theology's graduate program, both academically and personally, requires a wide variety of skills. This orientation aims to foster a sense of belonging, promote engagement in your courses, articulate expectations of NSBT and its faculty, help students develop and apply skills critical to their success, including research techniques and strategies in effectively accessing information, all in the context of the student's program focus area. The orientation introduces students to the vocabulary and processes of critical thinking and their application to reading and writing within an online course setting. Let's log into Populi and go to course MCM 003, Research Skills and Writing Center. Now let's go to lessons. This video orientation covers the first 4 lessons of the 8 of the MCM 003 Research Skills and Writing Center. We're going to look at NSBT Research Skills and Writing Center, the graduate level writing, formatting in Chicago and Turabian Style, and Chicago Style Basics in this first part of Orientation 3. Orientation 4 will cover the last 4 lessons. The instructor for this orientation is the Director of Information Literacy, and that's myself, and is available to provide feedback in the course's bulletin board right here, and or email any questions regarding the research and writing processes. My email is enolivos@nsbt.org, or you can go to syllabus under faculty, send email, and it'll open up another page. You can write the subject and send me a private message. The NSBT Research Skills and Writing Center orientation provides support and resources to students to increase knowledge, skills, and confidence in any part of the research and writing process. NSBT Research and Writing Core Skills and Ideas. The following are the core skills and ideas students should develop and possess from their research and writing process at NSBT. Concepts of writing. Students should understand that writing is a process, a series of choices, and not simply a product. Second, based on the idea that writing is a series of choices, students should learn how to make effective choices in their own writing. Third, since writing is a social act, students should learn how to give critical feedback to their peers, writing, and receive critical feedback on their writing. And fourth, In learning these concepts, students should begin to develop an awareness of themselves as writers. Writing process skills. First, students should understand and attend to the role of the audience in writing. Second, students should learn how to formulate an original thesis in their writing projects and to develop that thesis into a well-supported argument. Third, students should grasp a range of research methods and how to incorporate source material into their writing so that it develops and supports their ideas. Students should learn effective organizational strategies for their writing. Also, students should learn to write in multiple genres. Example, personal narrative, research essay, textual critic, proposal, profile, time writing essay. Also, students should develop the ability to sustain an analytical essay for at least 10 pages. And lastly, students should learn how to recognize and repair sentence level errors. Reading thinking skills. Here, students should be challenged to develop critical thinking and reading skills so that they can devise original ideas rather than simply echo the ideas of others. Also, based on class discussion, class reading assignments, and conferences, students should learn how to arrive at informed questions and opinions. Also, students should learn how to express themselves clearly as participants of the class, whether in discussion or more formal presentations. Students should also learn how to analyze assignments from all disciplines. And lastly, through experience with the instructor's commentary and peer review, students should learn how to interpret feedback on their writing. And the last core skills and idea is research skills. Students should acquire research skills, including making full and meaningful use of the digital theological library's resources, such as quick search, advanced search, A through Z databases, subject guides, periodicals, and media holdings, as well as non-textual sources, example, videos and films. Students should learn how to support ideas with persuasive research. Students should learn how to evaluate the credibility of a source, especially internet sites, to use academic scholarly resources, and to incorporate sources effectively. Students should learn the correct formatting for the Chicago Manual of Style, a 17th edition citation, including the construction of an Chicago Manual of Style formatted paper. And lastly, students should learn the definitions of and consequences for plagiarism and other academic integrity violations, as well as techniques for avoiding unintentional violations. The next lesson is looking at graduate level writing, which really means we're looking for our students at NSBT becoming contextual theologians and scholars. In your NSBT Master's Program, you will be expected to demonstrate well-honed writing skills in your essays. Your courses will require proficiency in the interaction of faith and culture as upcoming contextual theologians and practitioners. The whole vision for the school, as Dr. A.R. Bernard sees the integration of faith and culture. We then are contextual theologians, scholars, practitioners. As scholarly writers, you will learn and utilize the Chicago manual style and Turabian style in formatting papers. Models of integration are an interaction of faith and culture for contextual theologians and practitioners. There are 6 of these. The translation model, the anthropological model, the praxis model, the synthetic model, the transcendental model, and the countercultural model. All of these models come from Stephen B. Bevan's book called Models of Contextual Theology, written in 2003 by Mary Knoll, Orbis Books. Academic papers are those you will write in your courses that, 1, review and discuss the scholarly literature. Also, it will synthesize theories, models, and course readings. It will also present critical analysis, research, and scholarly insight in an objective manner. They are also formatted according to Chicago and Turabian standards, and finally, are written in the scholarly voice. What is the scholarly voice? In NSBT courses, formal language and tone are expected in scholarly writing. Most colloquialisms, slang, contractions, biased language, rhetorical questions, and second-person pronouns should be avoided. In formal writing, you must be cautious in your selection of scholarly language. Be aware that not all texts demonstrate good scholarly tone, even those that may be peer-reviewed. Essentially, then, the scholarly voice is unbiased, high-level and evidence-based writing that reflects the epitome of good grammar, syntax, and tone. Follow the do's and don'ts below to excel at this format in your graduate NSBT essays. Take time to view the scholarly resource links on what is the scholarly voice in your lessons on MCM 003, Research Skills and Writing, undergraduate level writing, and go to the page that says what is scholarly voice, and at the bottom you will see the links for scholarly resources. Here you will be able to explore this more in depth. What is scholarly writing? The do's of scholarly writing. Use proper syntax. Syntax is defined by the Oxford Dictionary as the arrangement of words and phrases to create well-formed sentences in a language. Syntax is an important aspect of writing that helps to ensure clarity. Incorrect syntax often results in sentences and paragraphs that do not make sense, and this can pose serious perceptual issues for professional communicators. 2, follow the rules of punctuation. Common errors include incorrect placement of quotation marks and erroneous use of the semicolon. As an example, note that quotation marks follow periods and commas. Third, include references, citations, and/or footnotes no matter what kind of document you're writing. Here, what we mean is taking the time to locate sources that substantiate your statements, demonstrate your proficiency as a scholar practitioner, and your commitment to excellence. Citations are required in your academic papers, but others also appreciate this attention to detail. For example, when preaching a sermon or teaching, the inclusion of reputable sources will support your recommendation and boost your own credibility. And lastly, a do's for scholarly writing is proofread and edit your work. Many errors are missed during the first proofread or draft. Be prepared to review your work multiple times. Let's move on to the don'ts in scholarly writing. Just want to highlight two here. First, don't write in the second person narrative. The second person voice is typically used in articles like where the writer is intending to inform and instruct. Writing from the second person point of view can weaken the effectiveness of the writing in research and argument papers. Using the second person can make the work sound as if the writer is giving directions or offering advice to his or her readers rather than informing them. Here's a comparison of second and third person perspectives. The first example is weak. You should read the statistics about the number of suicides that happen to your average victim of bullying. This is second person. Now, this next sentence is a stronger sentence. The statistics from a variety of research reports indicate that the suicide rate is high among victims of bullying. They are under so much psychological pressure that they may resort to taking their own lives. That was in third person. The second don't. Don't rely on software to correct your writing. Certainly, tools such as spell check, grammar check, and Grammarly have some benefit, but they cannot replace first-hand knowledge and mastery of proper writing. I recall one particular paper I received several years ago that was quite literally gibberish. When I inquired about the content of the student's paper, she replied, "Well, I used grammar check." Don't hesitate to seek writing coaching or writing coach. If you have questions or concerns about any aspect of good writing. As a graduate student and students in a master's level program, writing excellence should be a top priority. Here I would suggest you can find individuals that are good writers and have them read your work and give you feedback. By taking an informed and proactive approach to your writing, you will strengthen your academic performance, hone your professional and communication skills, and enhance your ministerial career. This is a craft that you work at. You're not going to overnight become a good writer. It takes work. So don't beat yourself up. Just put in place these practice and these skills. And as you continue to write, you will improve and be more efficient. So if we go to our third lesson, formatted in Chicago manual style, you will see that for writing assignments and citation, we will, in NSBT, will use the Chicago Manual Style 17th edition. And also Kate L. Turabian's manual for writers of research papers, thesis and dissertation, 9th edition. The Chicago Manual Style is aimed at professional scholars and publishers, while Turabian is the student version of the Chicago Manual Style aimed at writing paper, theses, and dissertations that are not intended for publication. Yet the two books are compatible. Both are official Chicago style. It is important that students acquire both manuals and take time to learn and practice using them in their courses and throughout their program at NSBT. The Chicago Manual Style 17th edition can be accessed on DTL. If we move on to the next lesson, page of formatting in Chicago Turabian Style, you're going to find tip sheets. The following handouts are tip sheets on formatting essay assignments using Chicago and Turabian Style. The information will serve you as templates to format your written papers. They can be accessed on your course MCM 003 Research Skills and Writing Center, as I'm showing you right now, in lessons, going to formatting Chicago Turabian Style page, as we are right now. So we can look that there is these links here that take you to these tip sheets. There are the formatting of margins and page numbers, title page, main text, section and subheads, bibliography, and footnotes. So if we click on these, I can demonstrate what we're talking about. So when you click on margins, it takes you to an external site. And what's nice about this, you can download this to save on your computer. But in this tip sheet, you'll have instructions, the regulations that tell you how the margins are to be set. 1 inch from the top to the beginning of the introduction. It also tells you the placement of the page numbers at the top right center. Also 1 inch on the side and 1 inch, on the left side of the paper and 1 inch on the right side of the paper. And then at the bottom, also there's 1 inch. So this is really helpful because it's in Chicago style and Turabian on margins and page numbers. So take time to look at this tip sheet and also download it so that you can format your paper correctly. That was margins and page number. Let's look at title page. In the title page, you also will find, again, Chicago Turabian title page, and it gives you the instructions here of how to place the information. If you notice here, it's simply the title of your paper, essay paper, and then your name, student name, the course name, and the date you're submitting the paper. So this is how you would do your title page when you're submitting an essay. The title, and also your name, the course name, and the date it's supposed to be submitted. Main text when you write. It also provides instructions on how to indent, the double spacing, if you have a quote that is more than 40 words, how it's supposed to be a block quotation, single space, and how you're supposed to place that in the subheadings. But this just gives you an example of how the text is supposed to look. Sections and subheads, when you have several sections in a paper, an essay, it also provides the very information on how you want to put the subheads. So this is good for you to read and take into consideration because they're tip sheets to help you in this very section. These are key in writing your papers. Bibliography. Again, here we'll give you the way that you need to center. It's supposed to be in bold. And then also how you are to write your bibliography by last name first. And so pay attention to these instructions as they provide for a bibliography for your papers. And then also footnotes. We are doing footnotes within your writing of the paper. You will put notes and footnotes, which you put the subscript here and here when you're paraphrasing or you're doing a direct quote. And at the bottom of the page, you will list the bibliography information, bibliographical information. As you notice, it's first name, last, and Chicago gives you the instructions of how to do so. But these are just format tip sheets, how you can format your different aspects of your paper. The margins and page numbering, title page, main text, section, subheads, bibliography, and footnotes. And that's under formatting Chicago style. We move on. Also, what we will find next, what's really important in your writing in Chicago style, is that we are to learning from and building upon the work of others is a central part of academic writing at NSBT. Failure to properly credit the work of others is called plagiarism. Plagiarism gives a false sense of originality and is considered dishonest. This handout provides general concepts related to plagiarism, but always tailor your work, including the inclusion of and citation of sources, to your audience and assignment. Here, there is this document that you can read and take more closely how to avoid plagiarism. So you could either open it here or download it, and you can take time to see that. The last page on formatting in Chicago Turabian Style lesson is looking at Chicago and Turabian notes bibliography. The Chicago Manual of Style citations for many academic and professional publications. For each topic below, the corresponding section in the Chicago Manual of Style 17th edition is listed in parentheses. Chicago employs two citation styles, notes bibliography style and author date style. This handout in this page addresses note bibliography style commonly used in humanities, religion, history, art, etc., and is the standard for us at NSBT. This handout covers basic concepts, but always tailor your work to your audience and assignment. You will notice that what we'll find in this section was what we looked in the tips on paper formatting, where you saw individual links on the margins, title page, main text, subheads, bibliography, and footnotes. I made this available because when you look at this particular handout, it's 3 pages long, but it gives all that information in one handout, which is really helpful with the corresponding sections in Chicago 17th edition and Turabian 9th edition. So that's very helpful. But if we look at it a little closely, and I'll open this up in a new window so that we can see this together, and I'll zoom in for us. Let's make it, there we go, so we can see this. So what I'm referring to is very much what we saw when we're talking about Turabian, when we went to the citation formation, the beginning of this lesson, you had this particular Chicago Manual Style, and Turabian is what we are requiring our students to have at NSBT. You can either have both or one or the other and utilize it. Or you can also, want to use the Chicago, you can as well go to their, they have an online version of it. And what's really nice about this, you can click on it and there's the book. So, and if you like to go into, I mean, it's like you had it all online. And if I click on this and I want to go to a specific aspect of it on how to do my page numbering for, you know, in the page numbering. So I click on that. It's going to take me to a link where you can sign on and look at this. If you're not a subscriber, try a free 30-day trial. And I would recommend this because in your first half of this course, you don't have to purchase it, but you can have for 30 days the manual in electronic format. And that's what you can do, or you can go ahead and purchase the book again here, you know, that we were looking at. But let's go back. I was highlighting that the handout, and if we look at the handout again, that's what it's going to do. Remember how we looked at it, see how it does Turabian, tells you where in Turabian, where in Chicago. You can do the general format for the margins, the font that needs to be utilized, and the line spacing. And you'll see that here when we're talking about the margins. You see the inch here, the 1 inch here, and the 1 inch in here on the margins. Then you see the font and the standard size font, which is Times New Roman and double space. You look at the line spacing. Also this page numbering, it gives you explanation here, the page numbering. In-text citations as to where you would put the footnote, the note, and then that's the footnote here. And then you put the footnotes at the bottom of the page, and it gives you the explanation of where it needs to go. And then if you go ahead and move to the next page, it also then gives you the information of the title page, where you can find it in Turabian, that particular information. The title page introduces key information about your work, the title of your work, your name, course information, affiliation, and the date. Again, here it goes into more specific for you, title and subtitle if it has a subtitle of the paper. And you notice it's in bold, the title page, the title of your paper or essay, and here the name, your name, the course, and date, additional information. You find that in Turabian and also in Turabian up here where you would find that information. Now, bibliography format, also this handout does provide that for you, and you see that it gives you reference to Chicago. It's in chapter 14, section 61, all the way to chapter 14, section 84. And there are various kinds of bibliographies, but a standard bibliography includes all sources quoted or paraphrased within your work. A bibliography is not always required for note bibliography style, but, this is key, but is often expected, and for NSBT courses it is required. So in other words, a bibliography, you may include sources that influence your paper without being cited. So for example, if you've written your paper and you have these sources, you've quoted one and you have one up here and another here, and then you have your footnotes here. And say you've used other sources, but I mean, you've read others, but you didn't use them in your paper. So you don't have to, but I would encourage you to also put it in the bibliography. Why? Because when other people are reading your paper and they find what your points and your arguments are making and they like it, they want to get more information, they can find the sources that you utilize to inform you on your topic. So that's always helpful. In the bibliography, you want to list entries alphabetically in last name first. If you use more than one work by one author, you list additional entries alphabetically by the title of the work. So here, again, the title tells you where in Turabian, the spacing in Turabian 8.13. So what's really interesting, you got to realize that as you put in your source, it is single space, right? Meaning if there is another line like it is here, it's single space. But in between the entries, you're going to have double space there. But it's single space as you write it. Not only do you have single spacing in the entries of your sources, but then on the second line of the particular entry, you will need to set a half-inch indent for that in citation, as you notice here, as well as in this one here. Since this is a single line, you don't see that you need to there's no need for indenting because there's not a second line. But in these particular, where there's second and third, you're going to have to indent half an inch, okay? That's what you can notice. Now, what I want to highlight here for you is the way citations are to be written as a footnote and also in the bibliography. And here are the examples that you'll find. And you can get this in Chicago, chapter 14, section 19, all the way through chapter 14, section 30 of Chicago. In-text example, and here's one. According to one scholar, and there's the quote, the railroads had made Chicago the most important meeting between East and West. There's the end of the quotation marks, and then you put in the footnote. Now, what's interesting, you want to make sure that you do so in Word. How to do that, it's not very difficult. You can simply, when you are in Word, here's your passage. Let's say I'm going to put here a footnote to this. You'll go to References, Insert Footnote. It'll automatically put the footnote at the end. Here, this is particular. I didn't have a quotation mark, but it's the idea that I found in Bruce's commentary. So I'm giving him credit. And down here, it automatically already puts at the bottom, and I begin to enter the bibliographical information at that point. So that's the example. Now, if it's a footnote, if you notice, you go ahead and you write the author, first name, last, and then you have commas right after the name, and then the title, no comma. Then you put in parentheses the publication, the publisher, the city, the publisher, and the year, close the parentheses, comma, and also the page numbers. Now, if you happen to quote them a second time in your paper, you would use a shortened version of that. And then here's the bibliography example. You have the last name first because it's going to go in that alphabetical order, and then the rest of the information. And you notice the difference. You have periods instead of commas. And what's helpful in this handout, it begins to give you the difference between the footnotes and the bibliographical citations at the end of the page, which is really helpful. Entries are in the same order they appear in the text. Entries are in alphabetical order with a hanging indent. You notice that, right? As far as, look at the footnotes up here. You see that? They're all lined up, right? There's no indentation like there is in here in the bibliography. So that's what that means. Begin the entry with a note number. The footnotes begin with superscript number. Don't worry about endnotes, okay? Do not include a note number when you do the bibliography. Notice the difference. Again, what it's referring to is, here's the number superscript, and it's also within the text citation, number 1, number 2. But when you go to the bibliography, you don't put any numbers in front. It's just alphabetical. That's what that's referring to. First author's name, first, last, like I showed you. And then in the bibliography, it's going to go first author's name, last name, first. And then it just gives you more examples of, here's the commas, and there's the periods. This is where the parentheses, like I was showing you, and then there's no parentheses, no offset the publishing information with periods. Include page numbers for all entries. Here you don't include the page numbers. So that's really helpful for you to look that closely. And then I give you a couple examples of footnotes with book with one author, book with two authors, and then a journal entry as well for to help you out. So that's why this handout is very beneficial. Close that out. In the last page of Formatting Chicago Turabian Style, let me go back to looking at this in actual size in our page. So that's why this is really helpful for you to have in one page. You can, like I said, you can go to the tips on paper. You can have each individual, and that's fine. You can utilize that as well. But then, like I said to you, in this one handout, it's already laid out as notes bibliography, and it gives all the explanation, and you can read it there and then also make reference to where you can find it within either the Chicago Manual Style book or Turabian. That's why it has those corresponding numbers for you. Let's go to our last lesson, and that is the Chicago Style Basics. For NSB students, using Chicago Style usually means putting notes and bibliographies into the formats laid out in the Chicago Manual of Style or in Kate Turabian's Manual for Writers. For advanced students and professional writers, it can also mean following Chicago's rules for capitalizing and punctuation, for setting up tables or writing figure captions or lists, and for managing almost any other aspect of writing almost any kind of document. In MCM 003 Research Skills and Writing Center, you will find the following links explaining the basics of Chicago Style, which in turn will help you understand the logic behind the formatting steps of your written assignments at NSBT. So what will be important in my recommendation is spend time here to help yourself learn more in depth the Chicago writing style. And this is really helpful when you look at the very questions here. For example, if you click on these, and you can click the links here or up here or even in this section here. So what is Chicago Style? So this is really helpful for you to get behind the scenes, and it's the external information provided by the Chicago Manual Style website. And I've already made the links and taken you directly there where you can get this information that explains to you the Chicago Manual Style and also, the difference between that, and Chicago Manual Style. Also, you can look at, is Turabian the style the same as Chicago? And that is a good question, right? And so here you get the information and you get other links that you can go into. So please take the time, because I think this will be helpful as you learn this new style. You have APA, MLA, and now you're in this master's program in theology and global leadership, and you're wanting to really inform yourself as how to write in the style that we utilize, and that's going to be Chicago and Turabian. And so this is the place where you would want to just inform yourself more. Another question that they provide is how do I format my class paper in Chicago Style? Again, just like that handout, now they also provide for you what I just was sharing with you, just information to inform you: the page size and margins, page numbers, the font, the spacing, indentation. Just, that's why I say to you, it's really important for you to just look at this and just get yourself more engaged with the Chicago Style or Turabian. Another question is, what's the difference between the note citation and bibliography citation? We're using the notes bibliographies, and so this is basically gives you good information about that as you look at those. Another question: why do I have to cite sources? How do I know when to cite something? How many sources can I cite in one note? How do I cite the same source many times? How do I cite an image? How do I cite a website or a blog? I get this question quite a bit, and Chicago gives you the examples of how you want to do that. And how do I write a quotation? So these are, again, helpful on learning the basics of Chicago style. As far as assignments for this orientation 3, you'll notice that the only assignment is a quiz of this video orientation, but the due date will be discussed in our Q&A session. You will need to take it before you can access the last video, which is orientation 4, part 2, research and writing skills, the second part of this orientation. And how do you do that? You can click either here and it'll take you to the quiz, or you can go to tests and you can enter there as well. This ends our orientation 3, part 1, research and writing skills. If you have further questions, feel free to contact me, the Director of Online Learning and the Director of Information Literacy, Dr. Eloy Nolivos. My email is enolivos@nsbt.org.